Hello, this is Newsfeed. The UN has warned that an even more hellish scenario is unfolding in southern Gaza as Israel pivots its intense ground offensive from the north. Palestinian journalists like Motaz Azaiza have been sharing footage of the devastating destruction almost in real time. Motaz says some of his family members were killed in an airstrike in the central city of Deir al-Balah. That single Israeli strike killed more than 45 people, including children.
My cousins, he passed. They found him under the rubble, heavy rubble.
The UN says Israel's bombardment of the south, including the city of Khan Yunis, is creating apocalyptic conditions. Aid agencies are again calling for an urgent ceasefire, saying that the small amount of aid being allowed into Gaza can't be distributed. The intense aerial and ground assault has fueled concern for the hundreds of thousands of civilians who'd been urged by Israel to evacuate to the south, only to once again be under attack.
This is what this war on children looked like. This is 8-year-old Shaima. When Shaima's family home was attacked, she lost her right leg and her right arm. I don't know if you can hear the bombs outside this hospital, but as I speak, this will be happening to other children. We will soon see other children come to this hospital just like Shaima, suffering just like Shaima. That will continue until this war on children stops.
Because of the offensive in Khan Yunis, huge numbers of Gazans are on the move again. They have been displaced on the orders of the Israeli military. Some are moving their families for the 4th, 5th, or even 6th time. The Israelis have dropped leaflets, often with QR codes, saying where it's not safe, but Palestinians aren't told where it is safe. This is a page from the official website. It shows a zoomable map with hundreds of numbered sectors. Below are the words, "Dear residents of Gaza, please pay attention and check this map. Anyone who sees the block number in which he lives is near it must track and follow the instructions. It is a safe way to preserve your safety, your lives, and the lives of your families." The Israelis had promised that the devastation wreaked in Gaza's north wouldn't be repeated in the south. And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had urged Israel not to repeat the enforced displacement of residents. But that has not happened. The so-called safe zones are tiny patches of barren land. Palestinians have no shelter from the cold, no sanitation, no toilet facilities, and no water. Doctors have warned that these so-called safe zones could become rife with disease, even death. The situation is also boiling over into the West Bank. Since October 7th, Israel has stepped up raids and incursions in the occupied territory. Palestinian sources say some 3,450 people have been detained and almost 250 killed. Israeli soldiers have been accused of turning a blind eye and in some cases helping Jewish settlers terrorize Palestinians and drive them out of their homes. In a rare rebuke towards its ally Israel, Washington said on Wednesday that it will bar extremist settlers from visiting America. When Hamas launched its attack, one of its reasons for taking hostages was to negotiate an exchange for thousands of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons. In the exchange, Israel freed 240 prisoners, mostly women and children. Palestinian sources say there's up to 7,000 political prisoners in Israeli jails, though the figure could be higher as Israel has stepped up its arrests since the Hamas attack. Israel has also stopped providing regular information on the number of Palestinian prisoners. A significant number of prisoners are minors between the ages of 12 and 17. In total, there are 200 minors in Israeli jails. There are 62 Palestinian women in Israeli prisons. Some of those released spoke of being beaten during their incarceration and being left without clothes and water. About a third of the prisoners, some 2,070, are being held without being charged and can remain behind bars indefinitely, and the practice is called administrative justice. Since capturing the territory in 1967, Israel has been operating two distinct legal systems in the West Bank, one for Palestinians and one for Israelis who live in settlements on disputed land. Palestinians are tried under Israel's military court system, where judges and prosecutors are uniformed Israeli soldiers. Meanwhile, Jewish settlers there are subject to civilian courts. Palestinians can also be held under administrative detention. It's a policy where Israel can detain them indefinitely on security grounds without ever charging them or disclosing what evidence they have against the suspects. Israel has called those Palestinians that were released violent terrorists. Ironically, most of them were held without ever being charged. Many have shared the horrors of abuse, beatings, and of being deprived of food, water, and medical care.
The intern then started beating and beating me. More beating. I tried to push him away from me so that he could beat someone else, but he kept beating me. He just stuck to me with the beating, hitting me. He hit me on my head. My back is mangled. My hands are broken. I was in pain for a week on the floor. Someone was helping me eat and drink. They bent the metal bars they had on us. If we wanted to get the metal bar back to its form again from the severe beating on us, he used to eat on our fingers and on our heads. I was not put with other children, but with the adults, with other people who were about to die.
Tala Nasser, a lawyer with the Palestinian prisoner and human rights group Andamir, joins us from Ramallah. Now, Tala, many Palestinians are under detention for vague offenses like gathering or stone throwing, which carries a jail term of up to 20 years. Worse yet, thousands of Palestinians have been in detention for years without charge. How does Israel justify these administration detentions?
Yes, so right now we're talking about more than 2,800 Palestinians are being held under administrative detention. And this is an unprecedented number. This administrative detention is when the detainee is being held inside Israeli prisons without presenting any charges against him, without a trial. The detention order can be renewed indefinitely, actually. And of course, this is an arbitrary detention. 80% of Palestinians who are being detained after the 7th of October are being held under administrative detention. And this shows that it's the easiest way or easiest tool or policy to put the largest possible number of Palestinians inside Israeli prisons without presenting any charges against them.
Now, Israel has also said, on top of arresting thousands of prisoners since October the 7th, it's also said it's being even tougher on Palestinian prisoners. Is there any legal recourse to hold Israel accountable?
Actually, of course, yeah, like we are trying all these years of working on prisoners' issues and defending Palestinian prisoners, we are trying to hold Israel accountable for all its crimes, and especially the crimes that have been taking place after the 7th of October. We have documented extensive violations on Palestinian prisoners, including the violent raids by the special forces, firing tear gas and brutally beating prisoners. We're also talking about the killing of 6 Palestinian prisoners with less than a month inside Israeli prisons. 4 of them were actually arrested after the 7th of October. So until now, we don't know the circumstances of their death, but testimonies of released prisoners affirm that they have been brutally beaten and they were denied medical care.
And how bad is it really, the treatment of Palestinian prisoners under Israeli care? Now, you speak of deaths. There's also torture and emotional abuse as well.
Yes, of course, there is. There is a threatening of women prisoners and the child prisoners and all Palestinian prisoners inside prisons to arrest their families, to rape some of the women prisoners or their families, and so on. So in addition to the poor quality and quantity of food, the cantina is now closed inside the prison, so they can't get access to good food. They are cutting off electricity in several prisons. They are transferring a number of prisoners to isolation and so on. So all these punitive measures have been taking place after the 7th of October, including also the torture and ill treatment inside the interrogation centers and all that. So all these punitive measures are actually catastrophic regarding Palestinian prisoners, and we are actually afraid of their lives. Especially that the ICRC can't visit the Palestinian prisoners right now. They are banned from visitation in addition to the ban on family visits. There are restrictions on lawyers to visit these prisoners. So actually, They are isolated from the outside world. Only the released prisoners' testimonies confirm all these punitive measures, and like we're hearing horrific actually testimonies from released prisoners.
You mentioned restrictions on lawyers being able to talk to these prisoners right now. Have you been able to speak to any prisoners since October the 7th?
Yes, actually, we visited some of the prisons, but actually there are restrictions. We take the visit, like we put the application and wait a lot of time to give us the permission to visit the prisons. Some of the detainees were not allowed to meet with their lawyers. They are banned from meeting the lawyers, and that's in the military orders. They can do that. They can ban the Palestinian prisoner or detainee from meeting with his lawyer because of, so some of them know we didn't meet, but actually everyone we've met in the past days is telling us that the conditions are really harsh and catastrophic inside the prisons. There are no clothes, no good food.
What you mentioned is people being detained without charge and without any proper legal representation for many of them. You don't get regular contact with a lawyer. What hope is there for these people who are behind bars?
Actually, the only hope right now is all the talking about the prisoners exchange deal. 240 Palestinian prisoners were released within this exchange deal. And of course, now all prisoners are hopeful that they will be also released within this exchange deal. So that's the only hope right now.
Thank you, Tala, today for those insights and coming on Newsfeed. All right, on to what's trending. Let's now step into a world where culinary artistry meets an ancient tapestry of flavors. Turkish cuisine. But outside of Turkey, it is often overshadowed by kebabs and social media sensations. This week marks the dawn of a new era, with Turkey being granted a place in the prestigious Go and Mio Gastronomy Guide. Lara went to the guide's launch right here in Istanbul.
The sizzle of kebab, the sweetness of baklava, and the enchanting allure of Turkish delight. They are flavors on the tip of the tongue at the mention of Turkish cuisine.
Trying Turkish food for the first time ever.
You have probably spotted food influencers tasting or cooking Turkish dishes on social media.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about Turkish rice that makes it irresistible.
Viral sensations like Salt Bay and Cezenebrak have tantalized taste buds on their platform. Despite these glimpses, Turkish cuisine remains a global underdog, quietly thriving beneath the surface.
We are to blame here because we haven't rubbed our cuisine in their faces enough. We've opened restaurants in every corner of the world, in Europe, the Middle East, and Turkish republics, but there's no trace of our menu.
With a history as rich and diverse as its flavors, Turkish gastronomy is a cultural fusion that runs deep. Now, the culinary spotlight is finally shining on Turkey. Prestigious French restaurant guide Go and Mio has crowned Turkey as its 17th listed country. The well-deserved recognition has been celebrated at a gala in Istanbul.
Being featured in the Go and Mio guide is high praise for a country's restaurants, a symbol of culinary excellence. This recognition not only attracts more visitors, but also enhances the reputation of the local culinary scene, ultimately contributing to the country's overall image as a destination for food enthusiasts. It also offers chefs and restaurants a valuable platform to display their talent on the global stage, opening doors to potential patrons and opportunities.
Approximately 200 chefs and restaurants from across Turkey have proudly received awards and hats in various categories. Yet, making the cut isn't the final chapter.
Anyone who loves their country like an Italian saying, "I won't make this dish without my cheese, my oil, my salt, my pepper," should be saying the same about our country. Don't we love our country? From now on, wherever these chefs are in the world, including Turkey, they should give this cuisine its due respect.
Now, the heat is on for Turkish chefs to carry the torch forward, all while cooking up a storm.
And that's it from the Newsfeed team. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.